Well, I know Mary was very relieved this morning after last week reading that rather marathon gospel reading, and today she had a nice short one. It's a very short reading, but it's a significant moment, and it's a moment where John puts the women who follow Jesus centre stage. In our Lent course this year, we've been exploring this book by Paula Gooder, which is called The Women of Holy Week. And Paula Gooder has the knack of retelling familiar stories in very imaginative ways. And crucially, she gives voice to the women who were present throughout the events of Holy Week and beyond. So today, on Mothering Sunday, I'm going to read a short passage from this book, from Mary, the mother of Jesus' story. Even from the start, he was never completely mine. Just after he was born, when I was battered and torn, weary from childbirth, when all I wanted to do was close my eyes and hold him against my heart. Even then, strangers came, smelling of night air and sheep's wool, telling me they'd come to see the Saviour, the Messiah. And then there were those three from the east, wafting altogether different scents of perfume and spices. Not to forget that time in the temple, when Simeon took him out of my arms entirely and told me a sword would pierce my soul. And the elderly prophet Anna declared he'd come to redeem Israel. So no, even at the start, when we should have been wrapped up together, he wasn't completely mine, and he hasn't been ever since. As a child, he would slide away from the group, and I would go looking for him, finding him looking upwards or outwards to the horizon, his lips silently forming words we couldn't hear. I learned over the years to let him go. He needed the space, the time on his own, and I learned to give it to him. Don't get me wrong, I know that he loved me. Sometimes I thought he might even love me more than other boys love their mothers. I could see his love in his eyes, but it felt as though he was teaching me to love him with every fibre of my being. I had to learn to let him go. He loved me as I loved him, but he wasn't mine. The last of the lessons I had to learn, I learned on a dark, gloomy hillside outside Jerusalem. By then, I was used to letting him go. I was used to him travelling around Galilee. I was used to him teaching large crowds. I was even used to the thought of him going to Jerusalem, where the leaders were baying for his blood. I thought I had got used to letting him go, but I had one final lesson to learn, the hardest one of all. I had to stand and watch while he died. Mary, the mother of Jesus, has seen it all. She has watched this child who was never quite hers grow up. She's watched people say that he is the Messiah. She's witnessed his ministry right from the very beginning, right back at that first miracle at the wedding in Cana. Then he told her that his hour had not yet come. Well, now his hour has come, the moment when her soul will be pierced. And Mary is here to witness it, standing at the foot of the cross. And in this moment of death and pain and agony, Jesus sees his mother standing next to the beloved disciple, the disciple that Jesus loved. Now, there's considerable debate among theologians about who the beloved disciple is. Traditionally, it is believed to be John, but others have suggested Lazarus or Thomas. The beloved disciple is an interesting character because often in John's Gospel, he gets things right where others get things wrong. He's contrasted with Simon Peter. It is the beloved disciple who recognises Jesus after the resurrection when the others don't. So perhaps the fact that the beloved disciple remains anonymous is significant. We can view them as an ideal follower of Jesus, an example of what a faithful believer looks like, and one with which we can identify. Whoever the beloved disciple is, Jesus, in these last moments, in an act that seems to demonstrate his very humanity, entrusts his mother to their care. Presumably, the understanding is that he will provide her with a home, with the financial and social security and protection that was necessary for women in a patriarchal society. But Jesus also gives his mother to the beloved disciple. Here is your mother. Jesus is doing more here than giving the two people he loves best to each other for mutual comfort, protection, and support. He is creating the first Christian community. Mary and the beloved disciple both find themselves standing next to each other at the foot of the cross, joined together by their love for Jesus. And this is the bond that binds all Christian communities, their shared love for Jesus. Mothering Sunday is traditionally the day when Christians return to the church where they were baptised, to the place where faith began, and to the church that spiritually mothered them. I wonder if there's anybody here who was baptised in this church. Of course, Martin. Yeah, there's a few. I wonder if you'd have to travel very far to go back to the church where you were baptised. And Stephen. When visitors come into the church, they generally say one of two things. The first thing they often say, and this is normally in a kind of accusatory tone, is, "You've taken the pews out." And I say, yes, isn't it wonderful? Look how flexible and accessible the space is. But the second thing they often say is, "I was baptised here," or "My mum was baptised here." There's something about this place that people return to, and many people feel a strong connection to this place and to this building. But a Christian community is more than a place or a building. It's a community of people joined together by their shared love for Jesus. A community of people who are given to each other to love and to care for one another because God first loved them. So I'd like you to imagine today that you are that anonymous, beloved disciple, because you are all indeed beloved disciples. And you're standing at the foot of the cross next to Mary. You hear Jesus' words. Here is your son. Here is your mother. We are given to each other, and we are called to be part of a community of disciples. So today, on Mothering Sunday, as we give thanks for all those who have cared for us and mothered us, we remember especially those communities who have mothered us spiritually and have brought us to know and to love Jesus. As beloved disciples, we stand together at the foot of the cross, loving each other because God first loved us. And like that first Christian community, established by Jesus from the cross, I pray that we too may be a nurturing and caring community where all may grow in faith and in love. Amen.